The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, and thank you for joining today's webinar on the mentoring program. I want to thank everybody for joining today. I'll be sharing my desktop here very shortly, and would like to welcome all of you to talk today about the mentoring program that Iasa is launching next Monday on August 1st. And those of you that have joined the program, I'm very happy to be able to demonstrate some of the features of what we're hoping is going to be one of our more powerful programs over the course of the next couple of years. We have created a program that is, I believe, very meaningful and should help you a great deal in your practice as an architect. So as you can see, I've shared my screen now, and we will be going into the presentation here in just a couple of minutes. I want to give folks a chance to join up. Okay, just a couple of notes as we go through the presentation. The program that you're on, GoToWebinar, will allow you to ask questions throughout the presentation that I'll take at any time. I like a dynamic conversation, so if you just look, you'll find a question panel, and you can type in any question that you'd like answered. Some of the more common questions, the FAQ, is that the program definitely is being recorded and will be available to you via the Iasa website, whether you're a member or a non-member, via the mentoring URL that we're going to show later in the webinar. So we'll be getting started now, and I ask you and encourage you to ask any questions that you would like during it, and afterwards we'll send out the URL to all the attendees. So what we're talking today is about mentoring, and we're going to start out with a little bit about Iasa and talk a little bit about why we're doing this mentoring program in the first place. If you know anything about Iasa, you'll know that we don't create programs just because they're cool. We really look to see and focus on industry need, and one of those has been from the beginning, how can I get the experience I need? How can I get help in the work that I'm doing? Then we're going to talk in detail about the mentoring program and what it entails, the benefits, the structure, and do a little demo of the tool set that we're utilizing to support our mentoring structure. Keep in mind that tool set does not mean is not the only portion of the program, but it certainly is the basis for our kickoff. So for those of you who are Iasa members, you'll probably know most of this, but for those that have not are not currently Iasa members or are thinking about becoming Iasa members, I want to point out that Iasa is a nonprofit professional association. We are run by architects, and we are for all IT architects. That means that we focus on every kind of technology architect that exists, whether that be software, infrastructure, information, enterprise, etc. Because as it turns out through our research, most architects are similar in most ways. There are a lot of top, professional opinions where we differ. I think there's an old saying about how if you put 3 architects in a room, you have 12 opinions. But the truth is Iasa provides opportunities for all architects and all structures, and has created a knowledge base that includes information for architects everywhere. We are centrally governed, but we are locally run. This is actually an economic principle. We found early on that that value is perceived locally, and that culture and other factors play have a large impact on the quality of the profession to its members. So we put a lot of emphasis on empowering our chapters globally, and our education committees and content committees, etc., to help make those localized to your environment. I think maybe recently some of you have seen the announcements of the Spanish webinars that we're holding in South America and Mexico, as well as the Asian and European and other programs that we run that are primarily focused on locale. We are technology and vendor agnostic. We have members from all over the world who come from drastically different backgrounds, and so that ends up forcing us into and pushing us into a complete agnosticism towards what technology background you have, who your employer is, or any of those kinds of elements. Now, we started Iasa for very simple reasons, the same reasons that you would be joining us today, looking for mentoring, etc. And those are that we need architecture resources to help us do our jobs. We need to be able to connect with other architect professionals to get mentoring, to understand problems, to work through issues, etc. And then on a broader scale, we look to stabilize the industry and employers. And in up-and-coming Iasa webinars, you'll see more and more about how we are really changing the nature of industry and moving employers to require a level of skill and capability that it has never been required before. We also look to standardize credentials so that you can tell the difference between a good and a bad architect, or a junior and a senior architect. And through that, provide an opportunity to have a true career path, as opposed to jumping from resource to resource or employer to employer and your career being ad hoc. We have chapters in 35 countries. We're really all over the world at this point. We even have we're even about to be able to put a pin in that African continent, as we have a chapter forming up in South Africa. So we're pretty much any place you can find architects, you can find an Iasa chapter. We have about 60,000 in the professional network worldwide. We have a full-time operational and executive staff, as well as regional management teams throughout the world. And we have active membership committees that you can participate in at any time, in training and certification, chapters, content, research, and professional outreach. So each of these committees provides an opportunity for you to grow your recognition as well as the overall professional recognition of architecture as a whole. And we encourage you to contact us if you're interested in contribution to any of the programs and their policies that you hear about today or in other Iasa broadcasts. Now, as I mentioned before, when I say we are globally run but locally organized, Iasa Global provides and works with Iasa chapters and regional management organizations to provide our services to members and their companies. The standards and programs are decided as a joint effort amongst committees and approved by chapters, regions, and discussed with implications to localization and to other kinds of aspects that might be important in countries such as Ireland or South Africa or Colombia, where we have very active participants, etc. So this is to help ensure that the global organization includes day-to-day issues and day-to-day value for things like networking, educational events, and membership, but also so that feedback comes into our standards in areas like advocacy, training, certification, recognition, and responsibility. So these programs are very much run at the local level, and we encourage you to get involved in your Iasa chapter if you have one nearby, or to start one if you don't. And you can reach us at chapters@isahome.org for that, for more information on that. We also provide a series of global recognition events. We have events all over the world. You can see some of the, I guess, somewhat blurry pictures here of some of the events we've held in the past. These include our Iasa World Summits as well as our regional conferences for those of you that have chapters that are holding the regional conferences these days. So if you are eager to get involved, if you need to, if you enjoy attending architect events, you can check our event page, where we also list other industry events from other providers, such as Gartner or the Open Group, or training providers, etc. So we look to be a clearinghouse to provide you an architect calendar that can help you guide your career locally as well as globally and get you the information you need. We have worked over the past 10 years with some of the best architects in the world: Grady Booch, John Zachman, Bill Inman, Lynn Bass, Eric Evans, Angela Yoakum, and you could become one of those folks in the near future if you're working on a framework or a process or a assessment mechanism or any other kind of thought leadership that you could provide. Iasa provides a platform for you to expose that information to the architect profession. We care for and appreciate today's thought leadership, but we also want to prepare for tomorrow's thought leadership. We have a number of training classes, and again, you can see these training classes on our website. You can take a look at the event calendar or the training schedule, and we have any number of new training classes coming out at any given time. And we have 2 ongoing certifications. One is a test-based certification called Iasa Foundations Certification, and the other is the Certified IT Architect Professional, which has specializations in software, infrastructure, information, and business, as well as enterprise architecture. So take a look at our certifications. These are the new standard and are going to be very much becoming the standard for hiring and for customer-vendor relationships. So we're here to really talk about mentoring. So I appreciate your patience through the About Iasa section, but we're here to talk about why we decided to do mentoring. And really, mentoring is about the career path. Most people don't worry too much about the infrastructure it takes to support a profession, but that is the business we're in. And so we asked ourselves, what are the fundamental experiences that help shape an architect's career? And one thing that continually came back is experience and guidance, whether that's from a senior architect who is looking to provide guidance back to his team or her team, or further that guidance to the world and architects at large. But it also comes from the other side, those architects who are saying, hey, I kind of have an idea now what architecture is, but I have this set of problems and this set of activities that I'm working on, and I need some help. And oftentimes that help is not available inside of their organizations because architects are generally today a minor percentage of most IT or technology shops. There is often not an ongoing mentoring program at their organization. Or worse, even in mentoring relationships at the organization, sometimes politics can come into play, or a new perspective could be tremendously valuable and could help that organization as a whole move forward much more quickly. So what we looked at was, well, in this career path that we're looking at now here in a slightly different way, architects move through phases of their career, and they look to interact with each other in slightly different ways at those different phases. So for example, in this career path, and I'm just going to try out this arrow. In this career path here, you see that architects start out at the aspiring phase of their career. And this is really where you're considering, should I become an architect? And during that discovery phase, there's a bit of education that goes along with that. We actually provide a certification for foundation architects. And that means that you've gone through a bit of discovery, and then potentially you've provided or gone through a course to get you that baseline level of knowledge that would allow you to just know what the terms are, know where things fit and what the basic processes are. And that foundation certification is the IFC. Now, in the second phase of architect's career, what we found, and this comes from literally 8,000 different architects that we've surveyed, it comes from countless thousands, tens of thousands of interactions that our chapters and our leadership have had, is that after that initial aspiring phase, architects, much like other professionals, go through a period of education where they're really learning a little more deeply what it means to be an architect and and how that process evolves. And that we've termed the associate education phase. It leads up to becoming what we call an associate architect. Now, during that time, mentoring is core. It is definitely useful, but in fact, this is much more similar to a period of time similar to a college degree, where you're really just learning the bases of finance or medicine or accounting or et cetera, et cetera. And then once you hit that phase, there's generally some form of test, and this certification is one we are launching at the end of this year. It's called the Architect Associate Certification. And that is a much more in-depth, practicum-based test that goes into a series of multiple choice, essay questions, etc., as well as that talks about the experience necessary and the capabilities that you're going to need as a practicing architect. And after that test, architects enter a period of time where mentoring becomes almost essential. It becomes effectively the major element of career growth. And this is on the job, working at architecture, but doing so under guidance. And this apprenticeship, this what we call internship phase, is where we see mentoring providing the most value in the practicing architect field. Now, we truly expect a significant number of programs to revolve around this internship program, but ultimately, just walking forward in the career path, once you have practiced enough under mentorship, and as you'll see, we'll get to what mentorship provides you, but after you've practiced enough, most architects reach a period of their career where they say, hey, wait, I really don't need someone looking over my shoulder anymore. I don't make as many mistakes as I did. And that period is a period that begins your professional practice. And this is very similar to any profession you know of. It's a board certification that certifies you and qualifies you as a good architect. Now, most of us would be professional architects most of our career. We would get our experience, do our jobs, and that would be that. A very few move on to a final phase of their career called the Master IT Architect phase. And these are people that are the Frank Lloyd Wrights of their particular domain. Maybe for you that's integration. Maybe for you that's retail systems. Maybe for you that's the technology that drives tanks and airplanes. But fundamentally, some people reach a level of their career where they are the best of the best. And this is the Master Architect certification and career level that Iasa has identified. Now, throughout all of these phases, mentoring is essential. Especially after the associate education, you can work with some of the senior-most mentors in the world to grow at any given level. Now, this was what fundamentally drove us wanting to offer the mentoring program, is that every architect we've talked to has talked about these phases in their career and wishing that they had something to support them doing it. Well, that's what the mentoring program it begins and provides, and why we're so very excited about the program overall. Now, the question of what would we mentor on is kind of the next reason that we would provide this program. It's the next thing that we were looking at in what was, what's the importance of this program. And throughout the last 6 years, Iasa has developed the most robust skills taxonomy in the world. And when I talk about skills taxonomy and robustness, and the way that you should think about clarifying the difference between one certification and one mentoring program is how specific are they? How much can they, how easy is it for you to understand the next thing that you have to learn? And I don't mean how easy is the topic, but how, if you were to describe architect skills as 15 skills, that would obviously be very unspecific, right? You need to know, it's almost as good as saying you need to know architecture, which doesn't help you at all. What Iasa has done over the last 6 years is we've broken down that skills taxonomy to the most intrinsic and skills and aligned them in a taxonomy that allows you to grow your career along that career path in a normalized way, as well as to analyze yourself, your team, or the broader community of architects on their skills and capabilities. So when you're in a part of the mentoring program, you will be focused on particular skills inside of this rigorous skills taxonomy. Now, within those skills, you also look at how those individuals deploy throughout the enterprise. And one thing I wanted to point out here is, and we're not going to spend much time on this, is that most organizations align their architects in certain ways across the enterprise. You may notice the outlier here, which is engineering companies. If you take Boeing, for example, they have IT shops, they have finance and all the others, but they also build really big things. So there are other types of architects that we're considering in the future. But fundamentally, this is what Iasa has identified as the normalized layout of architects inside of an enterprise. And as you begin your mentoring process, you need to be thinking about how the person you're working with, where their experience lies, and what kind of architect you want to become. As a software architect, you will get value in being mentored from a business architect, for sure, as long as you stay focused on particular skills. But as a business architect, or and getting mentored by an infrastructure architect, there might be some misalignment there in terms of the top-level skills you're going to need to grow. So one of the things to consider is, how do architects deploy inside of the enterprise? What type of architect are you wanting to work with as a mentor or as a mentee? And at what level are those individuals? Now, the mentoring program comes as a part of what we worked through and developed as our Iasa Architect Center of Excellence that we work with organizations around the world on. So the previous diagram described some basic layout elements. Obviously, every organization has modifications and adaptations of that. And so one of the things that we do is work with organizations to baseline their language and education, kind of assess their current employee skills, as well as build team growth goals and a gap analysis so that a delivery plan, so that they can grow their entire team capability. We provide training, and then ultimately one of the key areas identified was mentoring. Can we get mentored from either internal or external individuals who are experts in particular skills? So the Center of Excellence, or the COE as we call it, identified very clearly that we needed mentoring as well as all of these other elements that were stacking up. And finally, in our COE, we provide certification and team management tools to help handle the overall capability of the organization and architecture. But we consider mentoring one of the fundamental goals of any good architecture team. Now, some of the benefits of a good mentoring program, is that it has a compelling online presence. We all travel all the time. We all work probably way too many hours at this point. So it's important that we be able to handle this in a disconnected online fashion, that it's easy to enroll, that it's easy to match to the right mentor, and we're going to talk about matching here soon as we get to the demo, and that it facilitates the entire mentoring lifecycle, meaning it's not just, I found somebody to help me with a line of code, or I found somebody to help me with a capability diagram. But somebody that you can work with on an ongoing basis, a group of people that you can work with on an ongoing basis that have an entire life cycle of matching and providing the mentoring and the relationship development, following up, and then continuing that relationship over time. So we definitely, our system provides these kinds of benefits. It's got it's very easy to participate in. You can join in a couple of minutes. You've got a very rich user profile that's integrated with other external tools like LinkedIn and those kinds of things. You've got very powerful search and filtering for mentors that help you with the find and connect portion of the mentoring lifecycle. And it allows you to create rigorous goals and an action plan with your mentor in an easy to handle fashion, so that you can get you can actually make progress through the engagement section of your mentoring lifecycle. And it also provides significant feedback sections so that you can help us make it better, so that you can help us work with our mentors better, as well as create new opportunities for mentees. And we're going to talk about some of the different types of mentoring engagement here in a few minutes. So with that, I'm going to stop for just a moment and ask for questions while I switch over, so that we can provide a bit of a demo of the system. So if you have a question so far, go ahead and just type that into the question and answer panel, and in a moment we'll be getting to the mentoring demo up and running. Okay, so Clement has asked, has asked, are we able to choose a mentor, or are they chosen for us? The answer to that is you are able to request any mentor who is currently available in the system. So the mentors may also choose you. We have considered in the future looking at an additional service to help those who need information in growing their their mentoring capability, helping to select a mentor, etc. But the baseline system makes it easy for you to select as many mentors or request mentoring from as many mentors as you want. Now, keep in mind the mentors themselves may choose who may choose to select a different candidate, but that is up to you and the mentor to decide. Anupama, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, has asked, how can aspiring architects benefit from this mentoring program? Well, and that's a great question. The aspiring architects and the mentoring program itself is built on the notion of specificity and interaction. So, what we look for in this program is getting help in the things you need to do. For example, if you're working on a security element of a program, you may join the mentoring program and work with some of the best security architects in the world. Now, keep in mind that the program is targeted at architects. So, if you're not an architect, if you're an aspiring architect, you're going to be getting feedback as an architect and not as a senior developer or a database administrator or business analyst or these kinds of things. But it is really built towards the aspiring and the junior. It's a junior architect in some ways. Mentoring can always, I'm still being mentored in architecture, so mentoring can always help in any participant. But as an aspiring architect, you will get a significant amount of benefit if you can find the right mentor. If you're, Clement asks again, if you're going to choose, how do you choose? We're going to go through the matching algorithms, but a lot of that has to do with looking at the profile of the mentors and deciding whether this is somebody that you would like to work with. Keep in mind there's not a per mentoring fee or anything. You have a year's worth of access to the system as a registrant, and therefore if you don't feel that the mentoring is going well, or you'd like to look for a new mentor, there really is no limit on the number of mentoring requests you can put in. We look to build relationships in this program, and as with any relationship, some work and some need a little more or a little help. So we definitely want to make sure that you find the right mentor. And again, if you need help, you can always contact the admin, and we will discuss it with you. Is there a general level of experience you expect for the different architect classifications? That's a kind of a complicated question. I don't want to get too semantic on you, Mark, but the classifications is a kind of a gray term. There are very, very rigorous levels of experience of capability required at our different levels of certification. Capability, though, is different than experience, meaning I've met architects that have 4 years experience or 3 years experience that are superstars. I've met architects that have 15 years of experience that are fair to Midland. And that's not a negative thing for them. They've been successful. It's just that's how they've chosen to manage their careers. There's always a difference between the number of years you've been doing something and your capability at it. Not always, but I guess in general. We do look for very rigorous capability levels in our classification systems, our certification systems. So we have a couple of demonstrations and additional webcasts coming up on the certifications, etc., and so we'll get to some of that later. The next question, Mohammed, is about the South African chapter. I appreciate that. You can contact us at chapters@Iasa, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. I want to stay focused on mentoring today. So right now, and again, folks, feel free to enter questions at any given time. I will happily answer those. But right now on your screen, what you're seeing is the actual mentoring program. And this is run by a program, powered by a program called Cronus Mentor. It's a very good platform. We've been very happy with it. And it will be ultimately integrated into our entire online technology architecture, our strategy going forward. So while you'll have separate logins to this program today, ultimately there'll be a version of single sign-on that will allow you to, at a minimum, use the same username and password across both all systems, including the Iasa website. Now you can see that I am logged in right now as Paul Price. So I'm going to actually show you some of the basic features of the system, and then allow you to ask questions. Again, those of you that have joined the mentoring program will have access to this first thing Monday, and your first step is always going to be to build your profile. So when you get here to the front page, once you log in, you're going to see a number of things. Now, I'm both a mentor and a mentee, so I actually have a couple and an admin. So I actually have a couple of tabs that you won't have, but I'll just bring up Mr. Iasa Test here. This is what you would see when you log in the first time. Now, I've actually completed some portion of my profile, which you can see over here to the right. And I've already used this test individual for a couple of webinars, and so I already have a mentor who, well, it turns out is Paul Price. I can see all the activity that's going on, so you get a running list of people who are posting articles, people that any goals or messages that you've received. You'll see any goals that have been created for you by your mentor. You'll be able to see acceptances, etc. You also get to see people who've joined the program, which is pretty exciting because, you know, the whole point of mentoring is to get to know some of these folks in the world. Now, for most of you probably know Owen, the name Owen Woods. Owen is an author. Who wrote one of the most popular books in architecture today, also an Iasa fellow. Everybody who is a mentor in the system is either an Iasa fellow or a certified IT architect professional, which means they have passed a board certification in front of 4 peers about their experience, capability, and skill in providing the service of an architect to customers. It means they've got chops. So everybody currently who's a mentor has those capabilities. And so I want to point out that this really helps you, if you utilize it, to get to know those people. You can review their profiles online. You can actually send them messages, etc. And, of course, most importantly, you can ask them to mentor you. Over on the right-hand side, we have some quick links, which is Find a Mentor, Current Mentoring Connections, any announcements. I am an admin, so there's a couple of things that you won't be able to do. But you also have a mentee handbook that will help you get the most out of your mentoring sessions. And so you have a number of different tools at your disposal, really, to help you in this mentoring. Also, any current announcements, kind of very LinkedIn-like current discussions and announcements, are up here at the top. Now, the first thing you're going to do is probably click all the buttons if you're anything like me. But the first true action that you want to complete is to complete your profile. And the system will give you a percentage complete. This is really going to impact whether or not you are accepted by a mentor. Generally speaking, mentors are extremely busy, just like you are, and they're looking for mentees that they can have a significant relationship with and that are very motivated. If you're 42% complete on your profile, it's possible that you'd be a less desirable mentee than somebody who I could get a full picture of what they're looking for as a mentor. So the first thing you want to do is really, when you get ready to on Monday to put your profile in, is go edit your profile. And you have your kind of basics here. You have your first name and your last name and email and all of those kinds of things. And you can choose to a degree how much of your profile you want to share. But you also have your work and education experience. Now, wonderful. The good news is you don't have to re-enter everything you've already put on LinkedIn or that you already have separately. You can basically authorize your LinkedIn account to populate this data for you. And I'm going to switch over to my account just real quick to the Paul Price profile, which you'll actually see on your first day, and show you that I effectively just imported my profile from LinkedIn, which saved me a significant amount of time. And, you know, that's the one I tend to keep up to date as a professional. So that's going to, that one's going slow. There it goes. So you can see that all of my career information was, and education information here was just imported auto-magically. So we're kind of happy about at least that kind of integration. So going back to Mr. Test profile, what you're going to look for here is just putting in as much work as you have and as much education as you have, just so people get a sense of your background. Now, your mentee profile is where the real action happens, right? This is where you really want to do a good job. When you put about me, you want to talk about yourself, your interests, your not necessarily just your professional experience, which has already been entered, but you know, what are you looking to get out of a mentoring relationship, and where are you headed in your career? These are really important and will help. Honestly, the better you write that, the better chance you have of getting the mentor you want. Gender is not required, but can sometimes be helpful, especially as Iasa has a significant number of programs to help develop the female the architect growth of the you know, for women. So we work with organizations that cater to technology and women in technology, etc., to help grow that architect capability and get more women in the profession. Now, after that, you're going to look at your industry interests. Now, this is the interest in terms of where you want to focus as an industry. I tend to, for example, work with primarily as a full-on mentor with people in retail. So I look specifically for those that want information in retail and other kinds of retail-related activities. I also work with those in banking and insurance, and those are my preferences because that's where my experience lies. It certainly doesn't mean that you're not going to be accepted by somebody if they happen to work primarily in airlines and you happen to work in banking. But it is an area of opportunity for you to get specific information in your industry vertical. In addition, you want to look at your career path interests, right? And these are focused in, and I'm going to bring up mine because I've got my profile here a little more aligned. Just going to go ahead and slide down here to my mentor profile. You can see that my career path and my specializations primarily focused on software architecture. And then in those skill areas that we were just discussing, you're going to be focused in on what are the skills that you really want to develop. And you're going to get a list of all the skills in the Iasa taxonomy, and you can see it's pretty robust here. We've got kind of everything, right? Business fundamentals, strategy, industry analysis, application development, governance. We look at design and platforms, whole systems, human dynamics, the whole works, really, in software and infrastructure and information and business architecture. So it's a very robust platform for matching. And again, going back to Clement's question, these are the ways that you can match with the mentor that you want. If you focus in on the skill area that you'd like to be mentored in, for example, I may want to focus in on application development platforms or software patterns or engineering, service network kinds of functions. And if you focus in your skill areas, then you're able to deliver that or request specifically people that are experts in that. Now, the other areas that you might look at in terms of matching and in terms of filling out your profile are the next generation technology area. In this one, we have listed currently the IT Service Center, mobile computing, cloud computing, model-oriented architecture, service-oriented architecture, and decision management. We will be obviously adding to that as we identify trends that are useful in terms of next-generation technologies. But that will provide you an opportunity to focus in on a more of a technology integration. Again, if you're looking at software development in terms of something like, let's say, a large-scale .NET or JEE platform, then you're probably going to want to focus that more in on the skill area. Again, as architects, we're looking not just to provide you know, a .NET training, but really working with somebody who has that capability, but is focused in on how do I create a massive retail system in .NET or Java or PHP for that matter, or COBOL if necessary. Either way, we work with a lot of different technologies, and you should be able to find someone who has both the industry's focus, the skill focus, and the technology focus that best matches you, especially as the program blossoms over the next 12 months of your membership. Now, expertise, you're going to be looking at mentors that have you know, filled out their expertise section. You're going to fill out your desired expertise section to focus in on, and you can change this, of course, at any time. You're going to focus in your desired expertise in the areas that you want to grow the most, and really fill out that area. You know, what exactly do you want from your mentoring relationship? Your total work experience, any languages that you speak, any ethnicity that you may have, these things will help you in terms of identifying somebody potentially in a local area. I know for myself, I worked in Japan for a number of years, and while I would be comfortable speaking in, you know, to a Japanese architect in a casual sense, I wouldn't be comfortable providing true professional mentoring in Japanese. So these kinds of things can also help you identify people who are in your local area where you might be able to meet face-to-face, and other kinds of opportunities to match specifically with your personality, with your desired relationship, etc. So your profile is probably your most important tool in terms of how you work with your mentor and how you find the right mentor. Now, I did want to point out one other component below. As a mentee or a mentor, you'll have some settings, and it can help you control how you get messages, etc. And you know, those include, do you want daily digest, that kind of deal. As a mentor, you'd have some additional settings that would allow you to specify the number of mentees that you want to have, some of those kinds of things. Now, once your profile is complete, oh, and I'm sorry, Mark, you had a question. I'll just pause for a moment. Mark had a question, is there a specific career path for information security architecture? As I said in the presentation, we have 4 recognized specializations. Those are software, infrastructure, information, and business architecture. There is an additional role of enterprise architecture. What we've found is that most of these kind of career path and specialization questions are, you know, we have a limited number that we can provide at any given time. Most of those relate to overlaps in the skills taxonomy. So there is a number of different presentations we do for webinars that will talk about our specializations, how they were decided. They came from multiple years of debates, but currently information security architecture would likely be a sub-specialization, which we don't currently certify in, of one of the existing specializations, or potentially an overlap between 2. So we can talk more about that in one of our new member webcasts, which we're doing tomorrow. We also do a series of education webinars that discuss where those specializations come from, why we debated it, and how they landed where they landed. All right. Now, on the continuing on terms of the mentoring demo, just want to show a couple of other things really quick. It's we've been through about 50 minutes of the presentation, so I do want to leave time for any ongoing questions, etc. but you have a number of tabs up at the top that will help you connect to your mentors. Now, of course, the most important is when you already have a mentor, you want to be looking at this and making sure that you know exactly what's going on with your current mentoring connections. Again, you can have as many mentoring connections as you'd like. So we're going to show that in just a second. But your ongoing mentoring connections are here in your first tab. Generally your first step after figuring out your profile and importing it from wherever is going to be to go look at finding a mentor. Now you'll see here that with my current profile I get a series of matches. Now the matches that I get right now, the best one is Wayne Philin Matthews, who is a CITA-P based in England. He is a brilliant software architect, and I would and you know, depending on what I'm interested in, I'm going to go take a look at his profile and say, why do I match? And the reason in this case that it's such a good match is that the skill areas and the specification that I've put into my profile currently match best with his. Obviously, it does not do natural language processing, so it's not going to match on about me. But it would match on industry, gender, skill areas, technology, and work experience, etc. And this is going to be the person that the system is saying has a very good chance of me having a successful mentoring relationship with. So it does try to give you a bit of help in terms of understanding that. You can also filter quite specifically and look for particular terms. You know, so for example, I could look for people in the About Me section who said, you know, who've said I love rainbows. You know, anything that I could think of that might help me match better with a mentoring group. I can search on industry, career path, skill area, technology, expertise, any of the components that you filled out in your profile. You can actually filter on, and it will give you your best matches. And a lot of what I do, you know, when as I've started to work with the system, is just go through and browse profiles that look like they match me reasonably well. I'm obviously looking for a mentor that has filled out their profile in as much detail as possible. So you can see Richard Webb, who is also a CITA-P and is a brilliant infrastructure architect who has done a lot of thought leadership for Iasa, is based in Washington, and I can see a lot of his work experience, very robust About Me profile, gender, industry, career path, skill area, etc. And so I get a really good picture of what Richard's into and what he likes. Now, some of my issue here is that Richard hasn't really published anything in terms of the articles and any questions and answers and some of the other things that might help me kind of get a sense for who I'm dealing with. Now, by the way, that wasn't a ding against Richard, because this is still the Iasa demo site. The production site will come out to mentees soon. So that's not actually a ding against Richard. It's more just, if I were sitting and thinking about who I want my mentor to be, I'd like to get a feel for how they answer questions that are posted to the question and answer board. I'd like to see some articles. You know, I really want. I'm personally looking for more of a thought leader, simply because I've dealt with so many architects in the world and function in that capacity in some ways myself. So I'm definitely looking for someone, again, on that career path profile, more towards the upper levels of CITA-P, towards the CITA-M, the mastery level kind of architects, to help me get to the next level of my practice. Now, some of the other things and tools, and again, I'm going to stop here in just a section, is we have a mentees forum. So we definitely recommend that you post regularly to the forum, just like you would in LinkedIn, because you're going to get a different quality of answer as a part of the forum here. You're really going to be dealing with people who have committed to a career path and have committed to learning and growing. In addition, you've got articles and you've got the ability to ask questions. So you can post a question out here that instead of just a global or working directly with a mentor, post a specific question. I'm working on a security architecture view and it has the following components. Can anybody help me out with that? The people that answer that are likely going to be your targeted at the kind of mentoring that you want to engage in. So I'm going to go switch back to the presentation real quick. And first, I only have a couple of minutes left. So first, I just want to mention a couple of mentoring types. There's only about 4 slides here. And I want to point out that, one of the things you can look at in people's profile is you want to think about the type of mentoring you want. Do you want it by level? Are you looking to be mentored by CIOs, by VPs, by practitioners? Are you looking to be mentored by role, meaning one of our specializations, or even by a role that isn't specified? By activity. So are you looking at getting prepared for the CITA-P? Are you looking for just general mentoring? Or do you have a particular team development kind of activity that you're working on? Some of these kinds of things. So there's a lot of different types of mentoring engagements, and you want to think through some of that as you work with your mentor, etc. Also, you want to work on goals, right? You want to have accomplished something in the actual activity. So think about whether you're looking to develop a skill, a role, or a particular problem. And ultimately, I wanted to point out for those of you that haven't joined yet that the program is $150 for members only. This program currently will only be for members. We may open up another mentoring program that's open to general population. It's $150 for members for the early bird, which will go through probably another month, and then the regular price per year will be $250 annually. I want to point out the mentoring website, and the mentoring website is what you can see here. It is www.isaglobal/ISA/mentoring.asp, and that will give you a complete rundown of the program. This recording will be up by tomorrow, and it also introduces some of our mentors. Grady Booch is a mentor, Scott Whitmire, Max Polyashenko, Nick Rosansky, etc. So I'm going to open it up to questions now, and I thank you for listening to me through the presentation. So I'm going to see what kind of questions we have going, and then I'll answer those for the next 5 to 10 minutes as long as we have them, and then we will close out the webinar. So the first question is Carlos, and that's the mentor and the mentee profiles will be independent or could be twice. If I interpret your question correctly, you're asking if whether or not you can be a mentee and a mentor. The answer to that is yes. Currently, you can be a mentee and a mentor, but to be a mentee, you have to join the program as a mentee, meaning you have to pay for the program. We will likely, as our mentor pool grows and starts, therefore there's more opportunity for higher level mentoring and a larger body of mentors, we will likely make mentee access free for anybody who is a successful ongoing mentor. Okay. We have another question. As a part of the mentor-mentee program, the mentor will suggest training on different areas. Motivated mentees will be seeking training right away. The ISA Associate courses will be available soon. The ISA Associate courses will be available by October, November, and they'll be piloting here in Austin. This is not, some mentors, we do not counsel our mentors to primarily suggest training. We view the mentor-mentee relationship as a form of training. So I don't want anybody to think that you're going to get a whole bunch of ISA mentors who say, now go take a bunch of ISA classes. They may not. We don't counsel them either way, except where a person really needs to develop that baseline level of knowledge in a particular area, and need to grow from a knowledge basis. And most people who are joining the mentor program are really trying to join from an experience basis. So I want to clarify that we view this program, and we hope that this program becomes a form of training as opposed to a group of people pushing you towards training only. When can you get access to the mentoring site? It will be available August 1st, sometime during the day. We are currently migrating all of our demo site data over to the new system. The URL will be published up at the URL that you see on the screen, but it will only the people who are imported into the system who effectively join on the Iasa website will get that URL. The exams, the current foundation exam is $300 to take independently. The foundation training, somebody asked about the cost of the exam. The foundation training is $3,000, which includes the cost of membership and the exam. And so there are, the exam, though, can be taken in some places independently. We're currently working on expanding those locations. What are the benefits to Iasa, to actual members or additional costs? Again, I'm going to try to interpret that question, but I believe that means do you get the mentoring program for free as a member? So the answer to that is no. The mentor or the mentoring program is an additional cost on top of membership. There will be an option starting sometime next week to both join as a member and join the mentoring program at the same time. But we are not currently allowing anyone who's not a member, a full member of Iasa, to join the mentoring program. We are looking for those who are really committed to growing their careers. And then, can I get help in choosing a mentor? Again, you can absolutely get help in choosing a mentor. You can send an email to education@isaglobal.org and or any one of our support areas, as well as go online to the mentoring program and ask for help in choosing a mentor. Write a question. I'm looking for the following things, and I'm wondering if anybody can help me with how I would choose my mentor. These are great ways to use the system to help grow your capability and usage of the system. The mentoring program is not necessary to be an Iasa member. No, Carlos. You can join as a member, or you can join as a member and then join the mentoring program. And then how does this compare with certifications offered by the Open Group? Again, I don't want to get into, I'll answer that towards the end. I want to see if there's any additional mentoring questions out there. Certifications are definitely a deep and a topic. We clearly compete with the Open Group in a number of ways, but we feel that our offering focuses very specifically on a different set of factors. So if there are other questions about the mentoring program, I will happily take those right now. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today on the mentoring program. I will answer the certification questions here in a moment, as well as any additional questions about the Iasa education programs that you may choose to ask. I can stay all the way up to about 5 to 10 more minutes. The